Welcome back to the Extra Rep Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today we're going to be going through a few things that we've seen online, a few, quotes and a few things that people have said. I wanted to call them all out, but Liam said no, so they'll remain nameless. But what we want to actually do here is just debate in, a healthy way into, some of their claims and, why they are, right or wrong. And I will segue into this by saying I think 99% of people do want to do good when they're putting out like information like this in the fitness industry. I just think a lot of it now is probably getting outdated from some people, or they hear it from somewhere else. So it is really important to, like I said, do your own research and have a look and follow you people you trust, and not just blindly see something on your For You page. It comes up and just because a few people have agreed with it in the comments doesn't mean it's then gospel.
Well, this is the thing, right? And the reason I said we don't want to call out names and stuff is because, one, we are trying to do good, you and I. Like, we're not bashing these people even though we disagree with some of their claims. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, right? Some people can have such hold true beliefs, whatever it may be, and they can have such a bias to the point where, their cognitive bias doesn't even let them see other people's opinions and views because they hold on to this one thing. Let's just say, if someone healed themselves through a ketogenic diet because they had all these issues and they've been on keto long term now and they're always going to hold on to it, it's like, they might still think that carbs and insulin are the enemy when, some people who are very metabolically healthy and love carbohydrates and need it for performance,
Yeah.
especially for health as well, and SHBG and testosterone, a whole bunch of things. Like, there's a doctor that I listen to on YouTube, and he has actually helped me so much in my research and everything like that. But he's also a very big proponent of the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting as well, and long-term fasting and diet and stuff like that. So I do see a lot of his videos where I can actually be like, actually, I disagree with this, this, and this, but then he can make some claims that I'm like, okay, that's actually very interesting. So it is very interesting overall. And we just want to create this open discussion of our opinions of certain things that we've heard, try and give our take, and hopefully you, the viewer, can actually form your own opinion and bias, right? Because that's also very important as well. Like, a lot of people don't hold their own beliefs, especially when it comes to health and fitness. They hear one clickbait video where personality called someone else out and was angry and it was maybe funny or whatever it may be. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that person's right because that person cited this one study and that person did this.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good place to lead into the first one.
That was a rant.
I read, glucose spikes make you fat. You can't lose weight or lose body fat when you are continuously spiking your glucose.
There we go.
Thoughts?
And it is completely false. Because why is spiking your glucose so bad if you're metabolically active, healthy, you're moving throughout the day? And what if you need that glucose because you specifically need the insulin to spike growth hormone and repair certain inflammation going on in the body?
Yeah, that's funny. I'll do the other end of, like, obviously where I think they're coming from is, obviously people that are following this person, a lot of them probably are very metabolically unhealthy, very overweight. So I know this person's probably just trying to get to a point of, okay, if I know I can get people, I guess, not so much scared, but conscious of, like, if they're eating, chips and ice cream and cake and really high carbohydrate foods, they can go, okay, well, if that spikes your glucose, probably strikes a bit of fear into them. Of course, there's they've conveniently got to sell my book or whatever it is when you click the link in their bio. It's kind of hard because a lot of these people are, potentially like doctors or people and you've got great results with people as well following a certain specific diet, whereas that's glucose and obviously that's get more a ketogenic sort of diet. But the idea that just spiking your glucose spiking means that you're going to store body fat is completely false, because like you said, if you have any meal is going to spike your glucose. It's like, yes, we know carbohydrates will spike them higher than proteins and fats will, but they're still going to spike regardless, any meal you have. So I think that is something to be, very conscious of the language in how people say things, because, they try and say it in a be all end all way. Yep. Whereas there's no other reason. Whereas we know in the fitness industry, there's a reason there's 100 different diets, because they all work, but they're all eventually, doing the same thing in terms of the controlling your calorie intake. And then obviously, then it goes a bit deeper when you have hormone issues or things like that, which of course this could potentially help someone for a period of time.
Yep.
But I think like going back to it, it's the whole reason of saying like, you know, it's going to do this, that's bad for you, that's it, you know?
Yeah,
So
it's just making these outright claims that this one thing needs to be, you know, demonized because I've seen this work and this is true, right? Where it's like, you know, there's always two sides of the coin.
yeah, I think people create their own false bias as well. So like Len was mentioning at the start of the podcast, someone's been on keto for a long time and it's healed an issue. They're probably still scared to eat a carbohydrate because they think, well, I don't need to anymore. But I think it is very important to eventually get back to a, you know, quote unquote normal way of eating, where you're consuming, you know, a variety of proteins, carbs, fats, and just doing all the right things there to have, you know, just a normal, regular diet where it's so common now to have like, you know, be on some different diet that it's almost more normal now than just like, you know, you eat a piece of chocolate and you're a PT and people are like, oh, what are you doing? Like, they sort of freak out. So
I get shit for it all the time.
yeah. So I think it's important to note that yes, yeah, if you're not metabolically healthy, there's probably something different we need to do. But once you are, you know, having a bit of chocolate every now and again, or having food because you enjoy it as a social occasion or whatever, these aren't issues. But you obviously have to get there first, which I think is the main point that we want to make, especially when it comes to, you know, glucose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It comes down to personal preference and educating yourself and your body, because your body will respond differently to someone else.
Yeah, cool. Next one, you don't need fiber in your diet. So I had a bit of an argument with someone in the comment section. Then I realized, what am I doing? I'm not going to change this person's mind. But yeah, basically he was saying that, you know, you don't need it. The human body doesn't need fiber. And obviously recommended all these doctors I go have a look at and all this. And obviously I was doing a bit of research. And this is the thing. Technically speaking, he's probably right. You probably don't technically need it, but
This is the thing. To live or to die,
exactly
you
right.
don't need fiber.
Correct. But if you're going to live a long, healthy life, I think just about every study in the world has proven that, you know, if they're taking a group of humans who start eating a higher fiber diet, again, is it the fiber itself that's actually making them healthier? Potentially, probably not. It's probably the nutrients, the more regular bowel movements, all, you know, a bit more full between meals. It's all the stuff that relates outside of that.
A healthier gut microbiome.
Exactly right.
A healthier colon.
Exactly. It's all these little small things that start to add up. And like I said, the research has shown that that's the case over time. So I think that is one thing where, it is frustrating because, you know, someone's probably looking through one lens of, well, I don't have fiber and I'm super healthy and my blood works fine.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, well, that's cool. But like as a generalized, you know, if you're talking about the whole world and most of the world now is overweight, or obese, you know, you have to think about what are some things now where if you're saying that online, you know, how many thousand people might see that and go, oh, okay, well, I don't need any fiber.
Yeah, I mean, I was guilty of this myself. Like, I used to not eat any cruciferous vegetables because I looked into like, oh, there's oxalates and pesticides and all these things, and you know, I don't need that. And then, you know, I was having constipation issues and all these things, and I started cooking my veggies and eating. You know, I started with one big serving at nighttime, and you know, my next morning bowel movement was as regular as anything. And I'm like, oh wait, what the hell's going on? Oh, what do you know? I started getting better gut motility and diversity from eating veggies and micronutrients and fiber, and also the digestive enzymes that come with it, right? But it was one example of, I saw one truth of something, and I didn't do probably as much research as I should have. I just saw one source of information. I trusted it. I changed my lifestyle accordingly to it, and it went the other way for me. It didn't go the right way. So I then had to change again.
Yeah. And we've all done it. Like I said, yeah, there's one thing that we've sort of not fallen for, but you just get pulled into like, oh, okay, this is the way to be.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think the one good thing to mention is like, say you have, you know, say you're on whatever diet it is, right? And like you start researching into that on Instagram or whatever. What do you think your newsfeed is going to keep reflecting back to you? You know, it becomes, you know, this own echo chamber of like everyone confirming, you know, what you think is right and is maybe the only way to diet or exercise or, you know, whatever it is. So I think that is one thing to be really conscious of as well. I try and really keep a, you know, open mind and try and almost follow people on both sides of arguments a lot of the time on social media to make sure that myself, I don't get too far potentially towards one side of the coin, depending on, you know, what it is, of course, whether something's, you know, fact or highly debatable.
Definitely. I mean, look at all the stuff going on in America right now with, you know, Tylenol and autism and pharmaceuticals and then RFK and vaccines and just like, that's not even diet and health related stuff, but just look at like that, right? You've got two people from different ends and the whole world's on fire about it, right? People are making memes, people are arguing, no, I'm right, this is right. Science says this, no, science actually says this. Look at that, like it's just chaos, right?
Yeah, America's crazy right
Well, that's just one thing, but yeah, it just interests me because this is the stuff that I look into as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next one. This one's good. Your body doesn't know the difference between fruit and sugar. If your goal is fat loss, you have to eliminate sugar and fruit from your diet. Once healthy, you can add some fruit occasionally back in again.
I think I know who this was from. But not naming names, but yeah, a total load of shit, right? If you're going to have a Pop-Tart and you're going to have an apple, tell me that the body does not know the difference between the two. What a load of shit. The amount of micronutrition and fiber and stuff and, you know, modified citrus pectin in an apple skin compared to pure dextrose and sugar in a Pop-Tart and artificial sweeteners and anything, your body does know the difference.
Yeah. And I think like it's funny because when you say know the difference, I think that obviously, yes, it's like they're still going to be broken down into glucose in the body, both of them, right? But then again, like you said, it's the apple. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's more micronutrients, there's more fiber, there's more, all the stuff you're talking about. It's like they will, yes, be technically broken down into the same thing. Like every carb is broken down into glucose, right? So I think that's one thing where you just have to, again, be careful with, you know, how you listen to things. You know, people, for example, demonizing fruit. Again, you go back to the sort of fiber thing. It's like fruit, part of fiber. I don't see many people who've gotten fat from eating too much fruit personally.
No.
You know,
why can we have diabetics consuming a shit ton of honey and all of a sudden their liver isn't spiking insulin?
Yeah.
You know, why are they not on their glucose monitors and all that stuff and having to do injections when they're consuming 50 to 100 grams worth of honey and pure carbohydrates, which is technically pure sugar, but there's a different response based on the micronutritional value.
It's really interesting. It goes back to, you know, when you have the old calories in, calories out argument, and this is why people are, you know, obviously going beyond that, and 100% we should go beyond that. But it's going to be nuanced based on the discussion. You know, if someone's 50 kilos overweight, am I really worried about his micronutrition? Like, no. And again, something I want to definitely get to, but like if it's between this many calories, that many calories, I'm like, okay, well, if you can eat that and like have some ice cream every night, but you're losing a kilo a week, I'd much rather you do that than try and, you know, get perfect with every single micronutrient and then potentially not lose any weight. So
think of the health benefits from losing a kilo of body fat to, you know, potentially a few more micronutrients, right?
Exactly.
Which one in the long term is going to be healthier? You know, being at a healthier body weight is way better than just the amount of micronutrients that you'll need at that standpoint, right? Now, who's to say a certain body weight is healthy for someone others? It's just like, look, if you are metabolically unhealthy and you're excessively obese, overweight, all that stuff, and you can't breathe when you're walking, yeah, you don't have to worry about micronutrition. You have to worry about getting that fat off first.
I think there was like a pyramid. It was like a body comp pyramid. You know, obviously you get total calories, then, you know, protein, carbs, fats. Then you're talking about, you know, your sleep. Then it's, you know, your ergogenic aids, creatine, caffeine, meal timing, all that sort of thing. And that's where it sits, like micronutrition. And again, we're not saying not to consume micronutrients, right? You know, we know we need to have a diet higher in those things. But from a perspective of if someone is really overweight, that is the first thing you want to do is control their calories, then work your way up the pyramid from there. Then are they consuming enough protein? Then if they're consuming protein, carbs and fats, you know, chances are they've already got some micronutrition in them. And then it's just about, like I said, optimizing things through blood work and stuff when they get to a point where, you know, they're more metabolically healthy, and then they can start actually really, you know, going into that sort of stuff as well.
Exactly. I've honestly got nothing more to add on that. I think that's
Cool.
spot on.
Sweet. Next one is the rise of high protein everything. So basically, you know, food companies adding in, you know, high protein into absolutely everything. And again, there's, you know, two sides to this story. This person was basically saying that it's all absolute garbage. They're just adding whatever protein in. They don't care, and it's an overall net negative for, you know, for humans overall.
Oh, really? I don't know who was the one that said that,
Yes.
but yeah, I don't know this one. I'll find out after this. But look, we naturally don't hit our protein target if we don't prioritize it. Like, it's almost impossible this day and age. Like, if you're a male who's fit and active and stuff, and you're trying to hit 150 grams of protein without planning for it, it's very hard, right? And even just a minimal requirement of like 100 grams, that's still 2 to 3 meals of a 30 to 20 grams around there, right? Like, it's still going to be hard to hit. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like, you really do need to prioritize it. If we have the addition of some things that have added protein in it, so you can hit that daily intake, that's great. But I do see the other side of the argument where we see things like Snickers protein bars and stuff like that. It's just like, well, if you're, eating nothing but Snickers protein bars for your protein, it's like you're still eating a Snickers bar, and there's going to be some precautions that need to be had there because you're not going to feel great.
Yeah.
We even need to look at the bioavailability of certain amino acids as well, and foods that you digest.
I think it's funny because you mentioned like just more protein overall. You'd think, okay, yeah, net positive for sure. Like, things have got more protein in there, but I think, to actually, probably half say this person is almost right to a certain degree. The pendulum has probably swung too far the other way now, where in my opinion, it's now like, you've just got every type of cereal, every type of processed, food in a packet now has high protein.
Yep.
And we know now it's, it's really just to sell, more stuff to say, oh, but there's protein in there, that's good for you. Because everyone is now obviously gravitating towards a high protein, understanding, how important it is for your body and your health. So I think it's one of those things where, again, supplementation, that's where that comes back into it, protein bar, protein powder, etc. I know there was another guy who's recently, he's selling protein bars now, but he's like manufactured them to basically say like they're poison. I don't know if you heard about it. Yeah, like literally, like it's like the whole marketing technique is him saying like that, like his face is on them. He's like, here's my poison bars, like go buy them. They've got this much protein, and like with all the ingredients in it and all that. And again, that's where it's going the other way. It's like, do you need to get to that level? Like, if someone just needs to, top up their protein intake once or twice a week, is a protein bar really that bad, considering they're having, good quality protein the other time? And then again, if you go, if someone's having, 14 of these bars a week, you go, okay, things have probably gone back the other way. So I think it is a very interesting discussion. And I think net overall, we know, eat your unprocessed foods, obviously eat more of your protein coming from, your meat, your dairy sources and things like that. But then you've got your net positive of like, like how good are protein yogurts now? They're the fucking best.
Yeah.
Like from, potentially being like, oh, I need to eat like 800 grams of yogurt to get enough protein. Now you can eat 300 and get, probably a good 30, 35 gram serving. So
Exactly.
I think there is pros and cons to both.
We have protein ice cream now. Like, we've got gym bot ice creams that taste like a normal salted caramel ice cream, but you get 11 grams of protein, right?
Yeah. I think this is the thing. It's like, even with the gym bot ones, like you mentioned, it's sometimes I'll go, does there need to be protein in this? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
I'll sit there and I'm like,
Ice
I've
cream's
eaten
ice
that
cream.
and I've left my carbs and fats for some ice cream at night. Like, I'm just going to fucking have a normal ice cream, But it's good to have that option. And I think that's, that's sort of the swinging pendulum of marketing versus having the option. I think as long as you're informed, again, you have the right, structure in place with getting enough protein in the day. And I think once you do like start consistently getting enough protein, you just realize that if I just build my meals around a protein source, it actually becomes so much easier.
Yep.
Because you're obviously, if you are looking to hit a protein goal and you're struggling first off, it's just because you don't build your meals around protein to begin with.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing that and making that lifestyle change, then everything becomes 10, 20 times easier.
Exactly. We know we have muscle protein synthesis spikes throughout the day. So it's like, if you can have 3 to 4 protein meals, and once you've hit that target, then the rest is free for all, regardless, if it's, fats, maybe not free for all, considering they're 9 calories per gram. But that's how I base mine, and I sort of play around with it because I actually look at carbohydrates. I think carbohydrates are a bit more way underutilized for a lot of people. Like, I'm starting to see a lot of benefits to going a tiny bit lower protein and higher carb, because carbs are protein sparing as well, so they aid with recovery, but just more fuel in the tank for the specific lifestyle that I'm trying to live. But as of course, that's individual dependent.
Exactly right. All right, last one, because these two kind of tie in together, so I'll sort of say them at once. So Pilates builds muscle, and then as a sort of tangent to that, to be toned, you need high reps, low weight, and no/minimal rest.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they sort of go
Who the
hand in
fuck said that?
Yeah, well, yeah. They sort of go hand in hand. But
Look, okay, so we can say from a standpoint, if someone's never done Pilates before and they do Pilates
Or weight training,
or
potentially.
weight training, you're getting a resistance profile from both of them, right? So you're now increased a motor unit threshold in your body, so you're gonna see results. If you and me did Pilates, which we have done by the way, we ain't gonna see results at all in terms of our muscle building goals. We need to be under heavy circles.
Yeah. And I think this is where it comes back to, again, it's person dependent, right? So this specific person, I'm sure they run did look, but I'm sure they run a Pilates studio, have like a little PDF. I'm like, come do my 20-minute workout and you'll look like me, which we know is not the case. They're probably just naturally like that and they've done a bit extra, but it's hard because, again, you still are exposing your body to a stimulus, right? When you're doing Pilates. So, whether the stimulus is you doing body weight workouts, whether it's benching, a certain amount of weight, whether it's using a machine, whether it's doing Pilates, it's some form of resistance on your body that you will structurally, get stronger with over time. So I know Pilates have like the springs, like the small, medium, large. And then of course, they've got different things they're doing. A lot of their stuff isn't, do 5 reps of this. It'll be maybe do 5 reps, then do a hold, then add into something else, then do that. So again, it's a stimulus at the end of the day. So it will get you some sort of result. I think the problem is with Pilates, then you get to a point where you go, okay, where do I go from here?
Exactly.
I've maxed out this or I've maxed out that. And that is when the gym becomes, really, really useful. So like my opinion would be, if you like Pilates, awesome, go for it. But I'd use it as like the sprinkle on top of the cake. Make sure you're resistance training, 2 to 3 times a week. And then you can add a Pilates session or 2 on top of that to just help, again, I'm sure there's some really benefits towards flexibility and other mechanisms, but for purely building muscle, unfortunately, you're going to hit a dead end eventually with that.
Yeah, and we're probably biased because we both did one Pilates studio class and we both came away injured from that after that. But at the same time, we do know through all the science and everything that if you want to build muscle, yes, you need a resistance profile and you need a motor unit threshold to keep increasing so you can progressively overload. Yes, you can get that in Pilates with additional weights, springs, all that stuff, but you get to that upper threshold, you kind of hit a ceiling, and you can hit a ceiling pretty quick, especially in something like Pilates, because the resistance is not as tough as you think. Whereas, if you do a back squat, you can keep increasing the weight and getting stronger and stronger.
And how many of the classes, for example, any sort of class, whether that's HIIT, Pilates, whatever, are the same? They're not, right? They're trying to keep you different variety, which is fine. But then again, how do you know if you're getting stronger? It's like, oh, we're going back to this exercise after 4 weeks. Again, we know, in terms of your nervous system, your nervous system likes to do the same thing over and over again to adapt. And then, the muscle building element really starts to come after those first couple of weeks where your body gets used to the movement, motor units recruit and all that sort of thing. So again, not saying don't do it. We're just saying if muscle building is your number one goal, it just wouldn't be my number one preference. I would put it in as, like a bit of an accessory towards your heavy structured resistance training, which would be number one.
Yep.
Beautiful. That sums up today, guys. Again, if you've got any questions you guys want to send through, that would be fantastic. You can inbox me at Action Fitness Nutrition on Instagram or Liam at Coach Liam C. Murphy. But until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next podcast.
See you guys.